Feeling low and gloomy, melancholy and macabre? Well, I'm here to let you know your depression is not your fault. And you're not the only person going through this. In fact, life expectancy in the United States is actually going down for the first time in decades, in part because suicide is on the rise. And there's a new study that shows that suicide rates among Black children has tripled. That's really scary. You don't have to suffer in silence. That's basically what this video is about. Shame is a killer, and depression can make you feel so isolated and alone, like no one understands you, like you're a burden, that you have nothing to offer. And I'm here to let you know that you are not alone and there's nothing to be ashamed of, and in fact, your depression is not your fault. Opening up about your struggles with depression can actually help you move forward, because you can find people who are willing to be there for you, to support you through your journey, even if they're making their way through their own. In partnership and in community is the best way to make meaningful and lasting change, not being an island unto yourself who can do it all this nonsense that we have about being a rugged individual who doesn't need anyone. It just doesn't exist. Dispel this notion that we have in our individualistic society where you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and if you haven't beat depression, it's because you're not trying hard enough. Listen, there are no bootstraps in America. They're Crocs. Or maybe they're these. There's a million reasons, good reasons, that you might be feeling depressed right now. Some of those reasons include grief. Maybe there's struggles at work, home, with your finances. Maybe the existential threat of climate change is what's scaring you, the presidency, or the rise of global fascism. That one is pretty stressful and depression inducing for me. Maybe you're struggling with a relationship or the end of a relationship, or maybe you're struggling to not end a situationship. None of this stuff is insignificant. Maybe you grew up like me. I grew up in a home where you weren't allowed to complain about your problems lest you seem ungrateful for the blessings that are in your life. No matter what I was going through, my parents would remind me that someone else had it worse. And in many cases, that was true. But that made me a young person who was petrified to be honest with other people and myself about the intense fears and anxieties that I had about, growing up, about boys, about my body, about who I was, all of that stuff. I felt like I needed to just get on with it. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a pretty open person. I definitely talked about my fears and anxieties with people who I loved, but I was so action oriented. I felt like the only time that it was valid for me to talk about my problems was if I was trying to find a direct and immediate answer and response that minute. I just had to figure it out and be action oriented. I wasn't allowed to actually sit in the pain of what I was feeling and acknowledge deep truths about what was going on. So for example, when I first started graduate school, I really struggled. In fact, I hated it, but I couldn't admit it to myself. I kept finding ways to rationalize about how unhappy I was. It was, it's hard, it's really normal to feel this way your first year of a PhD program. You're in a new city, you're trying to make new friends, trying to figure it out, all this different stuff. But it was only until I talked to an amazing advisor of mine, Dr. Howard Stevens, who actually used to be a practicing psychotherapist, asked me if I was unhappy. And I was saying, no, I'm not unhappy. I just think I'm going through a really hard time right now. And he stopped me and he was like, Sonita, are you unhappy? It's okay to say you are. And I was like, huh? It's okay to say I'm unhappy, but this was my dream. I really wanted to go to graduate school. How could I possibly admit that I was unhappy after fulfilling one of my biggest goals in my life that I'd had since I was very young? But then I admitted it. Yes, I'm unhappy. And nothing happened. Nothing happened. The walls didn't start crumbling around me. The dean didn't come in and tell me that they were taking my spot and giving it to somebody who would be happy no matter what. I just was able to admit this truth to myself and allow myself to decide what I was going to do next. And that is why it's so important to be able to tell the truth about your emotions. Because when you tell the truth about what you're feeling, you can validate that feeling. You can say, yeah, I am unhappy. Yeah, I am scared. yeah, I'm not satisfied here. Then you're able to move forward because the truth is out. You see? When you suppress what you truly want, your desires and your fears, what's making you ache from within, when you suppress that, you only make it worse. Being able to identify and validate how you feel is the cornerstone of mental health. When you can sit in the fact that you have an emotion, a feeling, which none are inherently bad, you can validate that and sit with that. You can honor your truth. And only by honoring our truths are we able to discover the things that really do bring us joy. Here's what I can say about depression and my own challenges, my own journey toward mental fitness or feeling really good most of the time. Because remember, no one feels great all of the time, but debilitating depression really ain't it. The only truth that I believe there is that there are many ways to go on about a healing journey. I don't think there's one right path for anyone. I do think that it requires effort and it requires discomfort, because discomfort is the only way that we can push ourselves. Discomfort is the only way that we can achieve change. Without discomfort, there is no change. You know, I am an intervention junkie, no pun intended, but I've seen every episode of the show. And one of the interventionists would always say, if nothing changes, nothing changes. I think it was Candy who would say that, but that's the truth. If nothing changes in your life, nothing changes. Now, of course, change is constant. If we can't use whatever agency we have in our lives, sometimes it's a lot and sometimes it's a little, we can't change our own circumstances. But again, depression is not your fault. Here's what I believe. We deserve a community that helps support the best mental health in all of us, so that we can live out the lives of our dreams, so that we can really fulfill our purpose here on earth. We deserve a community that pays us a living wage, that gives us dignified work. We deserve a community that honors that mental health is part of health and wellness in general, and provides us with healthcare that is affordable and accessible and adaptable to all of our needs. We deserve a community that supports our growth, that makes us feel that we matter and that we are valid no matter what identities we inhabit. Unfortunately, in the United States right now, that isn't the case. We have a shrinking social safety net. That's really important. It's really hard to feel optimistic about the future if you're drowning in student loan debt or medical debt, or on the verge of bankruptcy, or on the verge of being evicted. It's much easier to feel optimistic if you have a full bank account and a social safety net from your family members or your partner. So that's really important. I believe that that gets obfuscated in a lot of conversations about what we can do to take our health into our own hands. Structures matter. All of that stuff affects you. Imagine going to a child in one of the detention facilities at the border and telling them, why are you so unhappy? You have food, there's other people here. This is just gonna, this is gonna help build your character. Imagine that. That's ridiculous. There are people who wake up every single morning and feel miserable. They feel heavy in their bodies, heavy in their minds. They feel that there's no reason for them to go on living, but somehow they manage to do that. And so social structures matter. And if we had more support in our society, right, in our communities, people would be able to attain mental health that's good for them individually and also good for the entire community. Your depression is not your fault, and you did not do anything to earn your depression. Your depression is not your fault. You didn't ask for it, and you cannot intellect your way out of it. Trust me, I've tried. I am not a mental health professional, but here are some research-backed, evidence-based things, some methods that you can try to take steps toward improving your mental health for 2020. Even if you feel a little bit better or take steps to feel like a totally new person in the best way, you're still trying. So I encourage you to continue to try no matter what. So the first tip is seeking out a mental health professional. I am not a mental health professional. Now, therapy traditionally has been very expensive and therefore inaccessible for a lot of people, and I understand that. However, times are changing. There are now community health centers that provide sliding scale therapists in many cities. I'm sure it's more challenging if you're in a smaller city, but go on Google and see if you can find a sliding scale therapist if you don't have access to inexpensive mental health. I'm very lucky. My health insurance at my school is only a $10 copay to see a therapist, which I absolutely take advantage of. But there are also other online options that can be more affordable. One of those is BetterHelp, and another one is Talkspace. Shout out to Kid Fury and Crystal, who are constantly publicizing Talkspace on their podcast, The Read. Right now, I looked it up. Talkspace is doing a promotion for the new year where you get 40% off. So try Talkspace, and then BetterHelp provides sliding scale online therapy. So both of those are options for at distance therapy where you can talk to someone on the computer. Also, if you're feeling suicidal or feeling that you might be in imminent harm, to do harm to yourself, here are a number of resources available to you. Please, please, please don't give up. The second one is my favorite one. I'm constantly proselytizing, which is meditation. Meditation, I believe, gets you back in touch with you in the psychic and physiological sense beyond just your physical body. A lot of people don't go for that because it's very woo-woo, you know, and that's like my thing. I like that stuff, but here are some empirically supported benefits of meditation. So meditation has been proven to lower anxiety and lower stress. It helps improve fatigue, and it helps decrease sleep disturbances. Meditation improves your concentration and your attention, which can help you focus on accomplishing tasks that you need to or trying new things. Meditation helps lower your blood pressure. Meditation helps to prevent the release of cortisol and adrenaline and other stress hormones, which have been proven to contribute to inflammatory-based diseases. A lot of autoimmune diseases like IBS, thyroid issues have been associated to an increase in stress hormones released from the brain. And this is particularly why we see a lot of communities of color, particularly Black women, struggling with autoimmune diseases because we have so many stress-related issues happening in our communities. Meditation helps with clarity. It helps you understand yourself better. It helps you to tell the truth about the things that you really want and need for yourself in your life. Meditation calms your brain down, which also calms your body down, and vice versa. If you're interested in trying meditation and don't know where to start, I recommend YouTube. I actually did learn from a book because I'm a nerd like that. I learned many years ago from a book. I wish I could remember the name of it, but it was a bright orange cover, and it was a former monk from Australia who turned into a corporate guru. He helped me learn how to meditate, and so I still do it, but I highly recommend it. I use YouTube to find beats and meditation music and whatnot, but I try to meditate every single morning. The third thing is try something new. Trying something new is good for the brain because it helps increase your neuroplasticity. So the neuroplasticity of your brain is how flexible and adaptable your brain is, how able your brain is to change, which is great. That's really good for you. Kids have a lot of neuroplasticity. It's very easy for children to adapt to change, but you know, as you get older, it can get harder to try new things or even to want to try new things. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, which I don't believe in. You still have neuroplasticity, but to help facilitate that, you have to get those neural pathways working. You got to put in new inputs. You got to try new things. So here's some new things that I've tried in the past 2 years. Not things that you hate, that you think would make you miserable, like Sudoku. I hate that. I don't know why people like that. I tried that for mental fitness and all that kind of stuff, you know, neural pathways, but it made me unhappy. Try things that you're intrigued by, you're interested in. So in the past 2 years, I did stand-up comedy. I did rock climbing at the gym. I made a cheesecake from scratch. And I took some new dance classes. So all those things were really new, fun things that I could try. Sometimes getting out of your head and going into a different space, a learning space, a space of curiosity, can help you stave off the depression that feels, you know, like a heavy coat. Next thing is build a community of your own. I think that depression can be so isolating. It can make you feel that you're so alone and no one understands you and no one cares, that going against that inaccurate belief can do a lot of good in, you know, tamping that down and facilitating happiness and awareness of your own value and worth, in society and how not alone you actually are. So even if that means, you know, starting a club at the university level, starting an organization or a group, a support group in your community, going online, going on YouTube, going on a forum, or not even doing it alone. I'm a big proponent of finding allies, finding other people who are like-minded who might support you in your endeavor. I would highly encourage that. Even if you fail or even if it doesn't go as well as you hoped, I promise you are changing other people's lives or inspiring them to do something new themselves. And you can also leave a legacy that way, something that goes on beyond you, because other people might come in and take the reins if you feel that you no longer want to do it. Now, at the most basic level, I always encourage people to talk to people that they're not really close to. Say hello to your neighbors, introduce yourself, say hi to your mail person, say hi to the delivery person. I always try to chat with the baristas. I like to increase this idea that we are a community, there are good people out there, we can acknowledge one another and recognize the fact that we're here. You know, the loneliness and the detachment that we feel in part is because we do a lot more of this, a lot more interaction online and less interaction physically in the real world, and that can take us away from our bodies. So getting back into our bodies and using our bodies, saying hello to people, just greeting people can help reduce the sense that you're alone and isolated. Last one is the hardest one, but I'm using it to kind of call myself out, which is improve your sleep hygiene. My sleep hygiene is pretty bad. I'm a night owl. Everything in me tells me to stay up late. That's when it's on. It's time to party. Let's kick it. Let's work on this. Let's do that. But I love waking up early, so it's a battle with myself. But here are some things that I would recommend to help improve your sleep hygiene, which simply means the quality of your sleep. One thing you can do is no scrolling in bed. Another thing that I do is drink green tea. Lord, green tea, mint green tea knocks me out. I know it has caffeine, but y'all, it just makes me so sleepy. Any warm drink, I believe, induces fatigue, and I don't know why. I haven't actually looked that up, so let me know if you know why in the comments. So I try a warm drink. Another thing you can do is to read a book in bed. Sleep hygiene facilitates your ability to nourish the body. Sleep is actually the cornerstone of health. A lot of studies show sleep is something that is often taken for granted, and it's the first thing that we can sacrifice when we're feeling overwhelmed. But I highly encourage you to take steps to improve your sleep hygiene if you want to stave off depression. So those are just a few methods of dealing with depression. Of course, there are many, many more. One, for some people, taking prescriptions is what they need to find firm ground. Another one is exercise for some people. Moving your body in whatever way you're able to is proven to help with mental health issues. Food has been proven to affect the mind and the body simultaneously, and you know, sugar, which is as addictive as lots of narcotic drugs, can make us exhausted, make us tired, make us manic, and then make us fall. And if you're depressive or you're in a depressive episode, it's gonna be a challenge, right? So decreasing things like sugar, increasing things that have fiber in them that your body can really break down. Remember, your depression is not your fault. You are never alone, and don't give up. Change takes patience. Change is slow. Honor that and give yourself grace around whatever inevitable setbacks and failures that you may have along the way. It's okay, because you're still in the game and you're still trying. Mental health is something that affects everyone. Some of us, it's obvious. Other people are really good at hiding it. But remember, you're not alone. There are other people who are struggling. So if you can at all, try to find someone who you can trust to talk about some of your mental health struggles, and maybe you guys can support one another. But you don't have to do this alone, because you're not alone. There's so many other things going on. So please let me know, are there any things that you do to help you improve your mental health in general, or help you fight off depression that happens, especially in this time of the year where it's winter and there's less sunlight? Maybe I need one of those sad lamps. Maybe that would actually help. But there are lots of different things that people try. So let me know in the comments what you try to help improve your mental health, or any other tips and tricks you have, or just your thoughts in general about how we could actually improve mental health on a societal level. Thank you so much for watching. Peace. book in bed, especially like this. Like this. You know, or like this.
To love. Love is a condition so powerful. It may be that which holds the stars in the firmament.
That's what I feel in my heart.